One Life is presented by Lincoln Coin and Bullion, buying and selling gold, silver, platinum, and palladium bars and coins, and rare and collectible coins. We also buy gold scrap and sterling flatware. If you wish to buy or sell any of these items, please call 402-327-2853 for an appointment. Welcome to One Shot, One Life, helping you win with money, people, faith, work, health, and your hopes and dreams. We help you stop worrying and start winning.
I will not waste my life watching the world go by. I've only got one shot, one life.
And now, welcome your host, best-selling author, speaker, CEO, husband, and dad, Doug Fitzgerald, on 1499.3 KLIN.
Well, welcome to One Shot, One Life, the show where we help you stop worrying and start winning. I'm your host, Doug Fitzgerald. Thank you so much for joining us today. We also want to welcome everybody who's joining us on Facebook Live. We appreciate that. If you want to look us up there, it's Facebook at 1400 KLIN, and we will be live. We're sporting a brand new Facebook look, by the way, which is really cool. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But getting us launched in the Metasphere and the Metaverse is Kenny Larrabee. He's our production man for the show today. So, Kenny, thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate that. Kenny's also our digital director here at Broadcast House and does a smash-up job in everything he does. Well, we want to welcome back our main executive producer, Josh Floyd. Josh, you were feeling a little bit under the weather last week. We're glad you're back.
I was pretty crummy.
We'll get you on there.
Where is it? There we go. I was pretty crummy last week.
You feeling good now?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you're back.
97.2%.
All right. That's close enough. So we'll take it.
The past couple of years, that's all we can ask of anyone.
Hey, we've got a brand new look on Facebook, by the way. Could you explain to our listeners what's going on there?
Yeah. So on Facebook now, we are, instead of going to the we'll be back soon, One Shot, One Life logo, we'll be back shortly, you're always going to see movement because we've got an overhead cam that's I'm sorry if my bald spot is washing away everything else, the glare from my head.
We have to get a makeup artist.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a makeup person.
There goes the budget.
But if you see us live, if you see us milling about on the overhead shot, that means we're at break. We can't air the ads and stuff over Facebook, so we're live. And just keep tuned in, and we'll start talking again soon. We just don't want any break in the action.
That's right. I want to see what's going on behind the scenes, so it's pretty fun. Last week, we had an amazing guest in the studio. We were honored to have Husker coaching legend George Darlington with us. Coach Darlington was the assistant coach for the Nebraska football team for 30 years, and just an amazing man. We had a great conversation. So many pieces of wisdom that he literally dropped on us last Saturday. Josh, I know you listened to that show when we were doing it live. Anything that you pulled from that episode?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, that guy, he's just been there and done that.
Yeah.
But one thing that George said that really resonated with me is he mentioned kind of one of the main differences between the kids then and the kids now is the confidence.
Yeah.
You know, because he said, like, going up against Florida and Miami and these powerhouse teams that are, you know, we're going to be contenders kind of with us at the time every single year. He said, one of them, I think it was Miami, they planned on only going, like, they allowed themselves 10 points down.
And
they knew
going
if they went into
the second half.
Yeah, into the second half, they were only 10 points down. They knew it was going to be a win. And it just doesn't seem, for one, like our current players have that kind of confidence. But two, I think it speaks to a lot more than that. Like, just, you know, having a person having confidence in themselves.
Right.
Which is, I mean, and it's something I struggle with personally.
Right.
And that's why it spoke to me so much because, I mean, confidence alone can move mountains.
Oh.
And if you know what you're doing and you're confident in what you're doing, it's hard to lose.
Yeah.
And it really is on the field or in life.
And he said they taught their players that they're going to expect to win every game. It's not like we're going to hope to win every game. We're going to expect it.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. So confidence. You know, for me, I thought it was really good when he talked about coaches and spouses And he said the hardest part for a coach is they have to have a spouse who's 100% on board with them. And if they're not, they need to have that difficult conversation. And if they're not totally on board, they may need to make a decision whether coaching is right for them or not. And I think that's important in life, not just with coaching. We had several shows throughout this week where I filled in, and we talked about that as well. Whether you get into politics or the current job you have or whatever you're doing, if your spouse isn't on board with what you do, it can spell trouble down the road.
That's going to cause some issues.
You need to talk about it. So, well, if you missed last week's episode, we recommend that you check it out on our podcast and also on Facebook Live. Josh, how can they find us on the podcast?
Podcast, you go to any podcatcher. I call them podcatchers, podcast platforms. The big one is Apple Podcasts. So if you have an iPhone or any kind of an iOS device, get that one. Or, I mean, there's a ton of them. There's Spotify is a big one, Stitcher. It just search podcasts in the Google Play or the App Store. And once you have that app, all you have to do is search One Shot, all one word, One Life, all one word, and you'll find us. We're everywhere. And podcasts are nice because you can listen to them whenever. You know,
right.
And it's just, you can listen to them on the go. I personally love podcasts. I listen to them all the time.
I want to thank Kenny and you for getting that all set up and making us everywhere around the world. People can check us out. So
around the world.
Well, thank you for that.
Worldwide.
Well, my team and I have been anticipating this day for so long, for a very long time. You're going to enjoy it as well. In the studio, we have the band Voda, Brian Olson and John Wooten. Brian is a former member of a Christian band called the Newsboys back in the heyday when they were traveling all over the world. He wrote and recorded our One Shot, One Life theme song. John is the owner of Artillery Media here in Lincoln, does an amazing job, does all my website work, and is just an amazing musician. I always tell people that he makes the drums sing, and he literally does. So we're going to talk about their journey of chasing their dreams in the music industry. We'll also learn about the story behind One Shot, One Life and the theme song, along with their upcoming tour for 2022. Plus, we're going to hear one of their latest singles, and you're not going to want to miss it. I gave a preview to the guys earlier today before Voda came in, and they loved it.
Yeah, so good, guys.
You're going to want to stick around for that. Well, if you want to join the conversation, if you have a question or a comment for Brian or John, you can call or text in the Rick Stein Recognition Hotline, 402-479-1400, and we will also be monitoring our Facebook feed as well. Quick programming update for the next 2 weeks. Next Saturday, February 5th, already February we're talking about, there will be no show due to Husker basketball. But on Saturday, February 12th, entrepreneurs Billy the Kid and Dan Delgado are going to be in. I'm excited. Josh, have you ever thought about opening your own business or have another stream of income?
Yeah, I have. As a matter of fact, I did open my own business.
Well, you're going to want...
I could have used a little bit more counseling
before
going in.
Where was Billy then?
I know.
Where was Dan then? Well, they're going to come in and talk about just really setting up and how to be an entrepreneur and have success with that. Billy's the owner of 4 thriving local businesses. He also just came out with a brand new book called The Power of Being Uncomfortable. Dan's the owner of 3 businesses. He also works full-time. So if you have a full-time job, you can still have businesses on the side where you have several streams of income. They also have a great podcast called The Minority Report where they travel around the Midwest and actually interview successful entrepreneurs. So I'm excited to have them in the studio to talk about that. All right, I want to wrap up the first segment here with this thought. One thought. We talked about George a little bit earlier. I think it's really important, and even more so in today's culture, that we seek out the advice from those around us on a regular basis, because it can be so beneficial as we set out to achieve the top priorities that we have in our lives. And one of the group of people in our society that I think we've lost sight of, really, and can be the absolute best source of guidance and wisdom, are those from the baby boomer generation and above. These men and women have incredible life experiences to offer, but unfortunately our culture tends to devalue their input and influence once they retire. And many of them feel like their passions, talents, experiences, skills that they've all acquired over their entire lifetime go dormant once they retire. But this is not the case. Sometimes the greatest honor that we can give this generation is to ask them to share their guidance and their wisdom with us. This is a great opportunity to allow them to speak into our lives. In my experience, every time I've asked for their insight, they have been honored and thrilled to share it. So I highly recommend that each one of us make it a point to seek out someone in this phase of life who can give their perspective to us as we seek out to pursue our vital life priorities. And if you want to learn more about that and how to do it, all you have to do is pick up my book, One Shot, One Life. Well, we're going to take a quick first break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the band Voda, Brian Olson and John Wooten. We'd love for you to join the conversation. You can call or text in the Rick Stein Recognition Hotline, 402-479-1400. You can also comment on our Facebook Live feed as well. You are listening to One Shot, One Life on Lincoln's #1 news and talk station, 1499.3 KLIN.
One Shot, One Life is presented by Lincoln Coin and Bullion, where we treat each customer with respect and dignity. A customer who purchases $50,000 of gold is not treated differently than a customer selling a gold filling. Every customer uniquely contributes to our business success. You're listening to 1499.3 KLIN. When you stop worrying and start winning. This is One Shot, One Life on 1499.3 KLIN.
Well, welcome back to One Shot, One Life. It is 12 past the hour. I'm your host, Doug Fitzgerald, and we want to thank our amazing show sponsors. They truly believe in our message, and we just love having them part of our team. And they're great local and actually regional businesses that are sponsoring the show. Lincoln Coin and Bullion, obviously, is our title sponsor, and my trusted bullion experts for over a decade. I've purchased from them for well over 10 years. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, proudly serving the Lincoln area and surrounding area for 25 years. We appreciate them being part of the show as well. And KC Smile, Dr. Headley and his staff completely transformed my smile, and they can do the same thing for you. If you want more information about them, or if you want to see my transformation, by the way, you can go to oneshotonelife.com right there on the front page. There's my mug with my new grill, so I'd really appreciate that. If your business would like to partner with us and the show, One Shot, One Life, and be part of our team, all you have to do is contact me directly at doug@klin.com. We'd be more than happy to have you join us. Well, we're in for a real treat today. In the studio, we have the band Voda, which consists of two members, Brian Olson and John Wooten. These guys have a deep tie to what we do at One Shot, One Life. And for those of you who may not know, Brian wrote and produced the song One Shot, One Life that we use as our theme song that leads into the show and out of the show and in between the show, everywhere we go. We've got that theme song going on. And, I want to talk about a little bit, in just a little bit, about the fun story of how that connection has been made. Brian and John have also been living out their lifelong dreams of impacting people's lives in a powerful way through their music. So today we're going to talk about their journey chasing their dreams in the music industry, hear about their future plans, and we will also hear one of their latest singles that we're excited about. So Brian and John, welcome to One Shot, One Life.
Great to be here, Doug.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We are so excited to have you here. We've all been really dear friends. I was counting back, John, probably at least 15 years that we've known each other, and through that, getting to know Brian as well. You both have amazing stories, so I'd like to start off your segment here by just telling us about your passion in music and how it's led you to being members of Voda today. So, Brian, we'll start with you.
Well, it goes way back. Always had a dream and desire to be in a band, which that happened. But then the dream goes further. You want to do it as your main thing, and that's a very difficult thing to do. It's not like you fill out an application for rock and roll and put it in, and someone says, yes,
I want him.
you're going to be in a band forever. So for years, it was just kind of playing on the weekends whenever we could. And I think the big affirmation and break for me did come when Newsboys owned a record label, and they were actually looking to sign our band at the time. And so we were kind of involved in conversations every now and then. And then I get this call one day from Peter, the Australian bald lead singer, and he's like, "Hey, mate, there's about 100 people here in Nashville that I could call, but I'm calling you, wondering if you want to be the guitar player for the Newsboys." And I was like,
That was good.
"Yeah, that's best I could there." And I'm like, "That sounds amazing. When do you need me?" It's like, "Well, the tour starts next week." And I'm like, "What?"
No pressure.
And I literally had to make a decision, leave my job within 2 days, learn a bunch of songs, all the guitar parts, singing. I was also background singing, and then flew out within 3 days to Nashville in this huge studio to learn all the songs. And I was on tour within a week in front of about 8,000 people. And I was just like, how did this happen?
And family at the time?
Yes.
So you really had to make some decisions.
Oh, yeah. My wife and I got together that day, and we're like, they want me to play guitar. They didn't say for how long. I don't know if there's a 401k or any sort of benefits, but I get to play guitar. What do you think? And she was like, yeah, this has been your dream. And at the same moment, she just got back from the doctor and found out she was pregnant with our third.
Oh, wow.
So the same meeting that all that news came out, and was like, all right, here goes this whirlwind of a life that's going to get more crazy. And that's what's kind of started like, oh, maybe I could be a musician for a living. And that was an amazing time. I traveled the world with that band and I never really left the country before that. And we went all over the world, got to play in Israel, got to play on the beach of Sea of Galilee.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And from there, then we kind of went full time after that with Casting Pearls, which turned into Voda, and been trying to do that ever since, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, so Casting Pearls, you played a lot here more locally,
yes.
And now Voda, you've expanded. We're going to talk about the two-man band concept later on in the show.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you, Brian, for sharing that. John, how about you? How did you get started in the music industry? I think it's been part of your life pretty much since you've been born, hasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the womb, he was
In the womb.
trying to drum in time to
Your
get
mom's
out.
like, shh, keep it down in there.
There's definitely some music passed down. Like my grandpa could play 7 instruments. He would go to,
Wow.
later on in life, he'd go to nursing homes, play bass drum and hi-hat, at the same time play guitar and do a harmonica solo. And I can't quite do that, but
But that's why
You're-
we're a
you can do
two-piece.
close,
He does
though.
like 6 things
He
at the same
does.
time. He's like, hey, we don't need anybody else. We'll
He
just pay you.
does.
so early on, my parents, against my wishes, put me in piano lessons, and every year I wanted to quit. Every year my mom would say, 1 more set of books, and then it kept going. She kept lying to me, and I'm so glad they never let me quit. My dad's a small church pastor, was a small church pastor at the time. He's been a pastor here in Lincoln for 30-some years, and so my brothers and I were the band. You know,
Worship band.
We're the worship band, and I remember I was on keyboards for a while. And when I was 13, my dad's like, hey, your older brother's going to college next month. You're going to be the new drummer. And I was like, well, I don't know how to play. So my brother taught me 1 beat, and I just played that beat fast or slow. And after 3 months, out of frustration, the piano player, rightly so, turned around at me in rehearsal and was like, can you play anything else? And so I was embarrassed, and I started digging in, fell in love with the drums. And then throughout high school and college, I went to the University of Nebraska here, played in several bands around here, used to play in bands that would open for Casting Pearls,
Really?
for Brian's band.
We
know
treat
that.
him like garbage.
And like the volume would be like halfway down for when we played, and they come out, it's all loud and rock and roll, whatever.
Steal the sticks. These guys suck.
And then I've played in several bands out in Nebraska, a lot of cover bands around here. I've played in several of those. My brother plays in those. Eventually, a spot opened up in Voda for a keyboard guitar player, and so I was rehearsing for that. And the piano stuff was cake. The guitar stuff, I watched their current guy. He's running around the stage, jumping off stuff. And I called their manager and I said, who knew me really well. This manager knew I could drum. And I said, hey, I can't run around and play guitar like that guy. You know, I think I'm going to have to pass. And I almost told him, let's get lunch sometime, have a great day. But instead I said, for some reason, I said, now, if you're ever needing a drummer, I'm your guy. And he goes, well, we are looking for a drummer. And I said, well, why didn't you say so? And so that's when I got in the band.
So you guys are a two-member band, which is unique. How does that work? And why did you make that decision?
Because our former band members were all jerks. We need to get rid of these guys.
Overhead.
No, just kidding.
They're overhead.
It's like we could split things 5 ways or 2 ways if we work just a little bit harder. What do you think, John? It just kind of naturally happened that way. John and I do music for this really unique ministry, Harper Ministries, and these leadership events, and it's just mainly the two of us all the time trying to figure out how to get the most music going for these events. And it just kind of spring-loaded from there. It's like, what if we took this the next level and tried to do like full band rock and roll stuff? And John, because of his grandfather's genes, he was already like, well, I can already do 6 things at once. I barely can do 1 thing at once. And so, but I did a lot of research and kind of built this guitar that's like, it's a bass and an electric guitar at once, and it's got technology to so I send the bass signal to a giant bass cabinet, and I got 2 electric guitars on stage, and when I hit a chord, it just sounds like heaven, pretty much. And we just kind of figured that out, like ways to write like that. So it's almost like a 3-piece band, but the bass and the guitar is my part, and then John plays keys, and he's running around stage now. Even he thinks he can't run around stage, but he'll run around and get the keys parts, and it makes for an interesting show. It's like bands like 21 Pilots. There's a few bands that have pulled off the kind of the 2-piece thing, and it's been a challenge for us, but also a really good one, because sometimes it's really good to limit yourself and then see how much you can do, rather than, let's just hire another player and, have 6 guys on stage.
You guys do a great job. If you ever get a chance to go see them, you've got to see them in person. They are awesome. You're listening to One Shot, One Life on 1499.3 KLAN. Brian, back in 2015, you were working on, I believe it was 2015, you were working on the album Fearless. At the same time, I was writing my book. And you had asked my wife and I if you could use our lake house because you had a producer coming in from Nashville for a week, and you guys wanted to do some, demos and work on some songs for this album. I'm like, heck yeah, use it. And so you used the home for a week. You started doing some production work, creating these songs, and then after the weeks following, you would send demos of those songs as I was writing the book. And one night I remember it was about 11 o'clock at night, and you said a demo, and I'm sitting there writing, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, that's it. It's called One Shot, One Life, and it encapsulates everything not only I've been writing about, but we've been working on. And ultimately, I talked to you right away, and I'm like, hey, I love the song. Can I use the name for the book and what we're doing? And you're like, heck yeah. I mean, absolutely. And he said, matter of fact, why don't you actually utilize the song too? Give it away for free, and we'll just, we'll work together in that. So I want to say thank you, not only for writing the song, but I want to say thank you for allowing you to share it with us, because now we're, it's impacting really all of our listeners and our show and what we're doing in the future. What do you remember about that time? And then we want to talk about the song as well and the meaning behind it.
I remember it being just an awesome time working with, Riley, our producer, who used to actually play guitar in our band before he just moved off to more of his calling to produce albums and bands. And so he was in town, and we were at your lake house. The funny thing I remember is the one troubling thing to do at your house was to record vocals. And I was in a closet with like blankets over my head.
And it wasn't just a closet. It was like 2x2.
It was a 2x2 closet. I was sweating, trying to sing these vocal parts. But no, I just remember it being an awesome time. And I remember you reacting to the song and like, yeah, man, you use it for whatever you feel called to use it for. Like, I felt like we're a team. You were there helping us. You've always been supportive of what we're doing, always encouraging us, even when we're having moments of, feeling down and doubtful. And so it just felt good to actually give back. Like, if this inspires you in some way, and to see what's happening now in this show it's pretty awesome. So.
Well, we get a lot of people who say, hey, I've heard part of the show or part of the song on the show and the intro and all that, but I've never heard the whole thing. So what do you say we go ahead and play it? Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, let's listen to their first song we're going to play in the show today. This is Voda with their song One Shot, One Life.
I'm getting closer to the edge, no turning back. no giving in. Running away from who I've been, with every step against the wind. I just wanna feel alive, think I'm getting real close. Gonna take a dive into the unknown. I don't wanna made up, I don't wanna made up. Gonna turn it up and I won't back down. This is my day right here, right now. I don't wanna made up, yes I don't wanna made up. I will not waste my life watching the world go by. I've only got one shot to do this right. I'm looking to the sky, I want to win the fight. I've only got one shot, one life. One shot, one life. I feel my heart beat again with every breath. I won't let this fear keep me from living. I just wanna feel alive, think I'm getting real close. Gonna take a dive into the unknown. I don't wanna made up, I don't wanna made up. Gonna turn it up and I won't back down. This is my day right here, right now. I don't wanna made up, yes I don't wanna made up. I will not waste my life watching the world go by. I've only got one shot to do this right. I'm looking to the sky, I want to win the fight. I've only got one shot, one life. One shot, one life. One shot, one life. Whoa, one shot, one life. Whoa, one shot, one life. I will not waste my life watching the world go by. I've only got one shot, one life. I'm looking to the sky, I want to win the fight. I've only got one shot, one life. One shot, one life. One life.
You've been listening to the song One Shot, One Life by Voda. I've always wanted to do that, Ryan Seacrest style, you know. Right
There, right at
that's
the end, you're
Just
like,
right in there. Anyway, I want to thank you again for providing that song, writing it, recording it. If you want a free copy of that, you've allowed us to do that. All you have to do is go to oneshotonelife.com. There on the homepage, you're going to see a place where you can actually get your own free copy of the song. Now, we've got just a minute before we go to break. You, for most of your concerts that you've done lately, you open with that, right? A lot of them, you
yeah,
do.
a lot of them. Yep.
And
we got
so-
a nice intro to it.
Yeah, you've got a great intro to it. So if you get a chance to see them live, they'll most likely be performing that song. And if not,
yeah, we will.
request it.
Okay.
Just jump up and down in the crowd and say, "We one shot, one shot." So, all right. Well, thank you again for coming in. We're excited. We're going to continue the conversation when we come back. It's time to take a quick break. We've been hanging out with Brian Olson and John Wooten with the band Voda. When we return, we'll talk about their focus and plans for the band in 2022. Plus, later on, we're going to be playing one of their latest singles. You're not going to want to miss it. You are listening to One Shot, One Life on 1400 and 99.3 KLIN.
One Shot, One Life is presented by Lincoln Coin and Bullion, where we respect our clients' privacy. We discourage walk-ins to minimize customer overlap and fully encourage all customers to call us to schedule an appointment. We operate by appointment only to offer our customers a discreet and confidential transaction. You're listening to 1499.3 KLIN. You only have one shot in this amazing one life, helping you make every single day count. This is One Shot, One Life on 1499.3 KLIN.
Well, welcome back. It's 31 past the hour. I'm your host, Doug Fitzgerald. Thank you so much for joining us on One Shot, One Life. We want to thank our title sponsor, Lincoln Coin and Bullion. Patty, Courtney, Katie, and the crew are a critical part of my financial team, and they're all so fun to work with. As a matter of fact, I was in there this past week, and they're just such great people. And that brings me to the point of this. If you're going to deal with your finances, you want to deal with people who are trusted, especially when you're working with precious metals. And I've been working with them for over a decade. If you're a current owner of gold, silver, or platinum, or you're wanting to make your first purchase, they treat you the same no matter what. And that's what I appreciate about them. And when you're working with them, they want to deal with you face-to-face, one-on-one. So it's by appointment only. They want to give you their full attention to educate you about precious metals and how they can be a benefit to you and your family in your portfolio. So if you want more information, all you have to do is go to LincolnCoinandBullion.com, LincolnCoinandBullion.com. Patney, Courtney, Katie, and the whole crew will be more than happy to help you out. Again, by appointment only, so simply call them at 402-327-2853. That's 402-327-2853. And if you go in, tell them you heard it on One Shot, One Life. Well, our guests today are Brian Olson and John Wooten from the band Voda. In the previous segment, we heard about how each of them got involved in the music industry and the ties that they have with One Shot, One Life. And if you missed it, we highly recommend that you go to KLAN.com and listen to the podcast, or check it out on any podcast platform that you do listen to. All right, so guys, we were talking during the break. John, you brought to my attention something I didn't even know about, and I'm so glad that I do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So the song One Shot, One Life, obviously the meaning of it, part of it is, hey, we only have so much time here on Earth. We want to take advantage of it. But the working title, when Brian was early on writing it, the working title was Everybody Dies Young, which is still the same message of, hey, we all die before we're supposed to, and we never know when that's going to be. We want to live life full, but that would be a terrible radio show. Like, hey, thanks for joining us Saturday morning, 1400 KLIN. Welcome back to Everybody Dies Young.
Just a reminder to get to those boomers before they leave the earth. Go get some wisdom from them.
So anyway, we were talking about that.
I didn't know that, so I'm glad I do know that now. And that would have been well, I don't know. That might be an intriguing name for a book, though. We're gonna have to dig into that one.
We're still gonna, hopefully, we're still gonna use that title somewhere.
All right. So over the past several years, you've taken several different approaches with your band and your platform, and really, there's a lot of things that you are doing that I haven't seen other bands do. And I'd really love to dig into that. So first of all, let's talk about how you tie your music and your albums that you create into specific missions that help people worldwide. How does that work, and what are you doing with your projects?
Well, if you go to our website, votaband.com, V-O-T-A, votaband.com, you'll see all our albums right there. And next to each album is a specific nonprofit cause that we've matched to help promote or raise funds for or support through that album. And so we like to use music to connect people who can help to those who need help. So every album we have, we're trying to do that. And we've done everything from helping fight AIDS in Africa through a Beat 33 program, child sponsorships. We worked with a local nonprofit, Love Justice, on their fighting sex trafficking, building border monitoring stations in Nepal on the border there. And so Brian's really good at connecting those organizations with our music, and it just is a higher cause that we play for.
And you've done a lot of work recently in Mexico. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we wanted to have we wanted to have something accessible and help a community that actually people could jump on a plane and go visit. And so we're working with an organization, a small community of about 300 families there, where you can, through child sponsorship, help bring that community out of extreme poverty. So there's two things we're doing. One, we recorded a full-length album that isn't available on Spotify. You can't buy it. The only way you can get it, we literally poured full resource to try to find 300 people that would sponsor a child in this community, and that's how you get the album. And which feels pretty rock and roll. Usually you want to make an album and you want the world to hear it, and we're hoping for 300 people to jump in with us on this cause in Mexico. And so we're actually we're over halfway there, which is great. And that's the covers album. You're going to play a song later. We did a bunch of covers, Tom Petty, U2, David Bowie, Bob Dylan, and
so that's the album then that they
the
will
album.
get if they sponsor a child and work with that community.
Yep,
that is awesome.
So, yeah, and it's been a pretty amazing run so far. Another thing we're doing, I'm actually putting on some crazy party, and Tommy Lee's coming in.
You are. Let's talk about that because that's part of this, right?
It is part of it.
Yeah.
Yes, he's coming in. Hopefully, the pandemic came in and kind of ruined things in 2020. The party was supposed to be then, but hopefully this summer we're going to have a private party where Tommy Lee's going to come in and DJ, and everything that we're doing is going to it's going to be in an aircraft hangar and a bunch of fun. It's going to be like a playland for adults, and all of that is going to go to help that community as well. So we're hoping that's going to happen in July.
So let's talk about the Playland. What are some of the ideas that you have going on with that? Because I want people to know about it. Because that'll be here in Lincoln, right?
It will be. Yeah. Now I'm scared. I'm even saying this because.
Or can you?
I can say it.
Okay.
This all birthed from. If you've ever been to a fundraiser, it's usually round tables, chicken dinner, and 3 speeches and a boring video. And I'm like, you know what?
Right.
Let's change this up. And the idea was that let's have some fun. And so we're going to have. A party that's going to be, hopefully, what we're looking to do is in an aircraft hangar and indoor zip line and open bar and food trucks and axe throwing
Nice.
and escape room and old school arcade, and it's just going to be a blast. And we're actually not going to ask for money that night. It's already going to be funded, and people are going to come and have a great time, and it's just a whole different approach to even. Bringing people into awareness for organizations and things like that. So hopefully, I don't even want to. That's all I want to say about that.
Right.
Through a mutual friend. So back in the day, Tommy Lee did this reality show called Tommy Lee Goes to College.
Now, Tommy B. Lee was part of
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue.
And man, that felt like a quiz question. Like if I get that wrong, I'm fired.
There's a few things he was a part of. Maybe we don't want to mention.
But through a mutual friend of ours, when Tommy Lee came into Nebraska to be in college, he had to play on the drum line. Playing on the drum line versus playing a drum kit's very different. So one of the main drum line guys kind of took him under his wing and taught him how to play the snare drum on drum line a little bit, with the transition. That guy that taught him ended up being our sound guy for years.
Really?
So we had this connection, and it's kind of funny. So when Brian first ask our friend, hey, do you think Tommy would be down with this? And so our friend calls him and tells him what's going on. Hey, they want to throw this party. It's kind of back here in Nebraska, and it's for a charity. And there's this voicemail that he had. They showed us where Tommy's calling him back, and he's like, "Man, sounds great. Yeah, we'll just fly out and do it. Do it for the charity. Although I guess I don't know what the charity is, but I'll do it."
Well, the other part of that is, on a whim, I'm like, tell Tommy we'll send a private jet to get him and bring him home. And I had no access to a private jet at the time. And then I get the voicemail back, and he's in. I'm like, oh, crap. I got to find a private jet to go get Tommy. But, that's how things go sometimes. We threw it out there, and hopefully the party will happen. In the midst of Motley Crue's going on a huge stadium tour finally this summer. And so in the midst of one of those dates, he's supposed to, we'll send the plane to come get him and bring him in. So.
Where will people be able to find out about that? At vodaband.com? Will you have it there? Or
No.
No?
It's at matchlessevents.org.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Matchlessevents.org.
Cool. So just stay tuned there. If
There
it
you go.
happens, it'll be there,
That's
right?
right.
Ready to go.
Mhm.
All right. Well, cool. See, that's what I love about what you're doing. You're doing things outside of the box. But I also know, we met this week and had a great conversation, and we talked about just how sometimes maybe you might feel like you've been kind of pigeonholed into the Christian band grouping, but the reality is you really are wanting to reach people where they're at. That's what One Shot's about. We want people to be reached where they are, no matter what their background, what their experience, where they've been. Share with us about how you feel in regards to that category and where you think you fit into the music industry.
Well, life happens to everyone, and ups and downs, good and bad, same with us. And really just our music is about that perspective of wrestling with belief in a higher power, belief in God, but also trying to understand why he allows certain things to happen. And so really our music it's not just for a certain audience of faith. It's actually everybody's wrestling with these questions. What am I here for?
Yep.
Is there anything after this short vapor of a life that we get? And even though we come from a faith perspective, it's still wrestling with some questions that God's not necessarily giving us the answer to.
Right.
So our mission for sure is to do good in the world, but we want to make great music. We want to show up and have a concert that's entertaining, but also meaningful, and just enjoy the moment in life, but also kind of just give a hopeful perspective. So that's really our goal. So I think sometimes when you hear, Christian band, it's like we only play in churches and we only do worship music and we don't want to, it's like, no, we want to have fun and access to everybody. And I think we do a good job, whether if we get hired for a youth event, we're going to turn up the volume and we're going to know what we're going to need to do for that event. If we get hired for, something else with boomers and they want it quiet and they're sitting down, like we can accommodate that audience as well. And we want to be able to do that for a wide variety of audiences. So It's not that we don't like the label, but sometimes that label just gives a connotation and we'll avoid that band because they're narrow-minded and they don't.
And limits the opportunity to reach people where they
Yes.
are. And that's what you don't want. So.
Yeah, and God is everywhere, and experiencing God can be everywhere. For example, the covers album it's called Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, Experiencing God Through the Music of Tom Petty, U2, Foo Fighters. And while we're working on these, when we're wrapping up these songs and getting them on this album and releasing them to the community and figuring out what we're going to do with that, the pandemic hits, and I'm listening to one of the songs we covered, Foo Fighters, talking about it's time like these we learn to live again. It's times like these we learn to love again. And I'm like, man, that's what we're doing right now. We're it feels like we're coming out of this thing. We're learning to be a society again or whatnot. There's the one that we'll play later. We'll talk about that in a bit. But there's a verse that people think we wrote because it sounds so Christian, and we didn't write it. The original author wrote it. So it's been cool to play these songs. Or even Tom Petty, I Won't Back Down. That's a rallying cry for whether you're starting a business and you're trying to go over a hurdle. You know what? I've got drive. I got determination. Fighting through this pandemic, it's been a reminder of, hey, I'm not going to back down. I'm going to keep living here. So yeah.
Speaking of connection to your listeners and the pandemic, you guys have done something different over the last couple years. Before we go into this next break, let's talk about these home events that you've done because they are awesome. They are awesome.
Well, at the beginning of 2021, that Australian lead singer from the Newsboys, we've been talking to him for years. Like, you need to consider doing some private events, maybe some house concerts. He finally said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we put a thing out to all our fans and all his fans, not blasting on social media, more of an email, kind of testing the waters, and we put together private house concerts. But we didn't want to do like some barefoot acoustic guitar kumbaya thing. Like, we wanted to bring a rock show into people's homes. And so John and I, we did all this research, found a way to get a sound system like a mini portable Bose system, weighed all the bags perfectly at 50 pounds each. And we take all these bags to the airport, we get in a Southwest plane, and we've been flying coast to coast, land, we get a minivan, it all fits in there, and we headed to these houses. And the rock show at the house has a full sound system. It has John has a special drum set that's like, the kick is like a suitcase.
It's awesome.
And he's got a kick snare and hats, and he's got his keyboard, and I got my special bass and electric guitar and a vocal mic, and Peter's got his guitar and an amp and a vocal mic, and we turn this thing on, and it's like full-on awesome rock and roll in a house. And we've been doing some amazing shows. Some of them have been like special surprise birthday parties, and everything in between. And we're still booking a bunch for this year as well.
So you
it's
still
ongoing.
do that?
Oh, yeah.
And to find out information about that, it's vodaband.com?
Correct. Yes.
All right. Cool.
Brian's actually my companion right now in Southwest. So his flights are like $6 each way. It's amazing.
It's an easy way to do it. And I love you talked about your drum kit. It's crazy. It is a suitcase.
It's really cool. We just love not following expectations.
Right.
Hey, come to this house party. I got this band coming. Oh, it's probably going to be a cajon, an acoustic guitar. You show up, you're like, what? Come to this band I'm watching. And there's only 2 guys on stage. What? That's what we love. We love doing things in a unique way. What? Tommy Lee's coming to help some nonprofit for kids in Mexico. What? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And as a matter of fact, we had you at our home. You rocked the house. The neighbors knew about it. They could hear you and loved it, by the way. And it was just a great time. But the people that were there were so encouraged by your message and just the interaction personally that you're bringing. So I love that you're doing things different. Well, this has been such a great conversation. We're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we'll continue with Brian Olson and John Wooten. Recently, they've been working on a project that John just alluded to a little bit ago that I love. And it's really impacting a lot of lives using songs that most of us know and love. We'll play one of those singles when we come back next. Plus, if you have time, we're going to ask them the multiplier question. And if we got time to do that, stick around. You're going to want to hear their answer. You are listening to One Shot, One Life on Lincoln's #1 news and talk station, KLIN.
One Shot, One Life is presented by Lincoln Coin and Bullion, buying and selling precious metals such as silver, gold, platinum, and palladium. We buy and sell coins and bills, both domestic and foreign. You're listening to 1499.3 KLIN. helping you tap into the power of the ultimate success formula to win at anything in life. This is One Shot, One Life on 1499.3 KLIN.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today on One Shot, One Life. We love having you with us. It is 49 past the hour. I'm your host, Doug Fitzgerald. Coming up on One Shot the next couple of weeks. Next weekend, we're off due to Husker football. And then February 12th, entrepreneurs Billy the Kid and Dan Delgado will be in the studio talking about entrepreneurship and how to develop your own business. We're excited to have them in the studio. Well, today we've been having a great conversation with Brian Olson and John Wooten of the band Voda. And guys, I want to dig right into this right away so we have time to play the song. But you've been working on a project, John, you talked about it just a little bit ago, really that it takes songs that we already know that have a spiritual either message behind it or connotation with it, and then you're utilizing that now in your music and your work. Tell us more about that.
The song you're going to hear is by U2. It's called I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. What I love about that song, here's a guy who's literally experienced everything life has to offer. He's lived, just an incredible life like a king. And he's singing the song that, I still haven't found. He still wrestles with this unsettled restlessness in his soul. And he even talks about having a faith in God, and he has the guts to say, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And I really resonate with that. I mean, as a spiritual person, I know God loves me. I know I have a strong faith, but there's still that in this life, I'm still looking for the next thing sometimes to excite me, get me by, and things like that. And that wrestle of being content. And so that's why I just love the perspective of the song. It's honest and authentic, and so we did our own version of it. I think when you do covers, you should put your own twist on it, not try to copy the original. Right. And U2 is an incredibly difficult band to copy because they still sound
and sing, and you're awesome on. By
and
the
they
way.
Still sound amazing. And we had an opportunity actually to film a music video for the song in Iceland. So if you go to vodaband.com, you can actually watch the music video to the song there. John looks amazing in that video.
Yeah. Well, hey, check that out. Let's go ahead and play the song. What do you say? Let's go ahead and do it. So here is I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by the band Voda on One Shot, One Life.
I have climbed highest mountain. I have run through the fields only to be with you. Only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls, these city walls, only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have kissed honey lips, felt the healing in fingertips. It burned like fire, this burning desire. And I have spoke with the tongue of angels. I have held the hand of a devil. It was warm in the night, and I was cold as a stone. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I believe in the kingdom come, then all the colors will bleed into one. bleed into one. Oh yes, I'm still running. You broke the bonds and you loosed the chains, carry the cross and all my shame, all my shame. You know I've been leaving, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Oh, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Oh, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Oh, I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
That was Voda performing I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For on One Shot, One Life. Guys, this is awesome. What, like, when you play this for people, you know, we've got a couple of minutes here, but when you play these type of songs for people, how does it impact them?
I think they're surprised in a good way. It's like, you know, I've heard this song forever. I never thought of that sort of perspective. You know, I never thought of like who was writing this song and where they were coming from. You know, there's some Tom Petty songs we do too that you know, like I Won't Back Down, just like that's a battle cry for all of us. We've
Right.
all been blessed with so many roles that we play, and we want to protect that. We want to go to the end and do well and finish well, you know.
Right. So how can people get an album, that album? What can they do and where can they go?
To get that album, they
Yep.
have to sponsor a child, and they have to go to votaband.com, VOTA, votaband.com, and they'll be right there on the homepage how to get involved. There's a lovely video on there when Brian actually went down to the community and visited with them, so you can actually see the work. Yeah.
Good. All right. So, well, you guys, you know, that video as well for the song is also there too, right, at votaband.com. So you can check that out with
Absolutely.
I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. You guys have concerts going up all over the place, all throughout 2022. I know we didn't get to talk about the actual schedule itself, but that schedule is on your website too. Anything else before we head on out?
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks for having us on.
Well, this has
That's
been
it.
fun. Thank you guys for being here as well. Brian Olson, John Wooten, the band Voda, we appreciate it. If you'd like to listen to the podcast of this show or previous shows, all you have to do is go to KLAN.com or check out our podcast. All you have to do is search One Shot, all one word, One Life, all one word. You can also check us out on Facebook at OneShotOneLife.com. I want to thank today's guests, Brian Olson and John Wooten, and special thanks to my producers, Josh Floyd and Kenny Larrabee. Until next time, take full advantage of your amazing one life and make every single day count. We will see you all next time.
One shot, one life.
Thank you for listening to the One Shot, One Life show. Visit OneShotOneLife.com to get a free download of our theme song. While you're there, learn how to connect with Doug on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Go there now, OneShotOneLife.com, and listen every Saturday morning at 11, right here on 1499.3 KLIN.
One life.